welcome to another exciting episode of HERcast with Dr. Chito. Today's title is Her Riches, Her Rules, Strategies for Women's Financial Success. Today we have the pleasure of hosting the incredible Doyin Anyaehie. Doyin Anyaehie is a banking and finance professional with experience in commercial, retail, and private banking. She's a registered capital market operator with the Securities and Exchange Commission and holds a BSc Economics from the University of Calabar and MSc Digital Currencies from the University of Nicosia, Cyprus. Doyin has attended various professional and executive courses at the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania and Harvard Business School. She is currently an executive director in charge of global wealth with Alpha Morgan Capital, an asset management financial institution regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. If you're new here, HERcast is a podcast and TV show dedicated to lending women a voice, empowering them with knowledge and building a support network that encourages boldness in following their dreams. We believe that gender equity will transform the world. In today's episode, we'll dive into trending ideas for wealth creation and financial empowerment, covering everything from financial literacy and women-centric investment platforms to entrepreneurship support. Get ready to explore how women can harness these opportunities to build a secure and prosperous future. Let's jump in. Welcome, Doyin, to HERcast with Dr. Chito. It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you, Chito. I'm glad to be here.
She's a really amazing person, so I know we're going to have a good time. So let's talk. Let's talk about women financial empowerment. What does it really mean?
So, interestingly, when we talk about women's financial empowerment, oftentimes what you hear people talk about is having more money, but it's deeper than that. It's deeper than just having more money in the bank. It's more about having agency, okay, having the freedom for women to set goals for themselves and take control of the decision making to see those goals come to reality. And it's also very importantly about taking control of economic resources. So it's not about getting a little less poor. It's more about having control of economic resources, that can impact, yes, making more money, but also being able to make more financial decisions and being in control in a way that lifts women out of poverty and gives them more economic power.
So sometimes you hear about all these financial education programs, right? How do these programs for women contribute to wealth creation and financial empowerment?
Well, the truth is that because it's such a dynamic world, as we all know, we say knowledge is power.
Yes.
And obviously, the more you know, the more empowered you can be. And you find that the more women have access to programs that improve their knowledge, where they can upskill, the better they can participate in the economy, the better they can take decisions that improve their financial well-being. In 2017, there was a study. So, there's several studies, but there was a study in Nigeria of recent graduates, about 3,000 of them, who were given training, ICT training. And it showed that beyond their in-class learning, those trainings helped to ensure their absorption into the technology space by about 26%. And there are several trainings, several programs, online programs, even on-the-job training that certainly help to upskill women and help them to participate better in various sectors of the economy and even in jobs and roles that were traditionally assigned to men. Yeah.
I think that applies also to, because I think a lot of times when we talk about financial empowerment, even from my experience, is sometimes lack of knowledge how to do it. So we have a dream, we have what we want to do, we have the idea of the business of how we want to do it, but we lack the financial capacity, finances, but also the knowledge of how to set up a proper structure or system. So these financial educational programs you're talking about is focused on that as well, I'm assuming, on entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. And you find that beyond just not knowing what to do, there are structural and cultural barriers that actually stop women.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it runs deeper than just not knowing what to do. There are barriers that prevent women from, being successful financially. And the World Bank has a report called Women, Business and Law Report that not only highlights the structural barriers to women succeeding in business, in finance, in empowerment, but it also tracks the legal reforms across about 190 countries, that are being put in place or that should be in place to promote, equality, gender equality in finance, in business, and in generally in the economy. Yeah, so that report tracks the performance and how well countries are doing to promote gender equality in finance and in business.
One of the things that I think from my experience as an entrepreneur, that one of the things we talk about a lot is not having people to I was saying mentorship, a lot of mentorship in that. So you're trying to do something, but you don't have, a group or a support network that can go in and say, oh, this is what you did, is this what I did? Or you're watching somebody else do it and see how you do. Because we have a kind of, I believe sometimes we have that spirit here where it's more always a competition and not a collaboration. We're not got there yet. Now we talk about mentorship programs. Now, is this something that mentorship programs can alleviate? I mean, because I hear about financial education programs, I hear about mentorship programs for entrepreneurs. You have a lot of things that you hear. Are they the same, or is this mentorship program that we hear about something that can actually alleviate those kind of gaps?
Absolutely, they're not the same. They're not the same.
Okay.
They're add-ons.
Okay.
So the mentorship programs, they basically serve to kind of create like a lift up for women, right? Where women can look up to another successful woman who has gone ahead of her and who can kind of like show her the ropes. Some of these mentorship programs also come by way of programs. They're not like financial education programs or mentorship programs, business support programs. The International Finance Corporation has several programs like that they execute through, implementing partners through banks, to provide mentorship programs for women that not only help to elevate women, but also even help them break through into previously male dominated fields. Yes. So where you see a woman who's become a banking MD, right? It would inspire another woman to say, listen, I can be this, I can become this, And so mentorship programs definitely serve to, in addition to financial education programs, legal frameworks, to elevate women and empower women to participate more in, economic decisions. You will find that globally, the World Bank says only 1 in 3 businesses are owned by women.
Yes.
Globally, about 18% of businesses are run by women. Only 18%.
That's so small.
It's ridiculously small. In sub-Saharan Africa, it's about 23%. And we're talking about
the marketplace.
This is formal businesses.
Okay, formal. Okay.
Formal businesses where you're registered, you have at least 5 employees and all of that. However, when you look at low-income countries and rural areas and low-income work, that's where you find the preponderance of women, because they're the ones who do the less profitable work that the men don't do. And so those types of programs would always help to transition women from those low-income work to more formal, more profitable ventures that help
Yes.
to empower women.
Wow. Now, I want to just go back somehow to the basic because a lot of women are doing business wrong.
Mm,
One of the things we see is that they don't have ideas of the basics of even how to start up a business. And because one thing I've learned and the lesson I've learned even doing my business was, Kai, I wish I knew what I knew then, like I knew then when I
mm.
started, I would have done so many things differently. And I think, so I wanted you to share what you feel are the first steps that women should put in place before starting a business.
So, what I'll say to that is that a lot of it comes from gender norms. Traditionally, women have been, categorized as homemakers
Yes.
and men as providers. And so, over time, that narrative has restricted women to the background.
True.
And so, women coming into their own and participating more in the economy obviously would struggle because this is not what you've been used to.
Used to,
Even when
yes.
you're educated, there are structural barriers that limit women to say, oh, a woman shouldn't do this type of work, or a woman is like, you should be cooking, right? So, what you find is that over time, it will take time for women to, you know, pick up the pace, right? But what I would say is you need to self learn. Women need to self learn.
True.
The same, there was a report I read, I believe it was the Align report, that says it would take about 189 years to close the gender inequality gap
Wow.
in finance, in economy, in business, and all of that. We don't have 189 years to catch up. So women have a lot to do to self-learn, right? To seek information, seek out the information that would help you take the step towards what we call financial empowerment. And that goes from everyday reading, online sources, online research, online courses, to figure out, I want to start a business.
Yes.
What
What do
should
I
I
do?
do?
Yeah.
You don't just jump into it. You can talk to your peers, talk to those who have done it before. Banks, financial institutions have a number of women programs to support women businesses. You have civil society programs as well that support women, women inclusion. So what I would always say is take the first step to find the right information. Talk to those you've seen who have done it before, and then it's like bricks, it's like Lego, one thing on top of the other. And yeah.
Okay, so now the next one I want to ask is the big word finance, raising finance. We always know, I feel and I perceive, and I'm sure there's something out there in literature that there's a bias in investors investing in women-led businesses, and also banks giving loans to women-led businesses.
Absolutely.
There is definitely a gender gap there.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that we struggle with a lot is knowing where to get finance for your business. You can have all these ideas, but every idea needs seed, right? And how do we get this seed? So what advice we advise is about getting financial support for our businesses?
You're absolutely correct, because access to credit is one of the critical barriers to women in business and entrepreneurship. And again, you can trace the history because of traditional gender roles, a lot of biases. Women were not even allowed to open accounts at some point, right? The Athena report today says that, well, as of 2020, about maybe 39% of women, Nigerian women, now own a bank account, and about 47% now use formal financial services. Of the 53 million Nigerian adult women, over 23 million, no, sorry, over 32 million still remain unbanked.
Wow.
So there are fundamental challenges, right, towards accessing credit. Because if you're not formal, you can't access credit. If you don't have
Yes.
an ID, you can't access credit. If your business is not registered, you can't access credit. If you don't use a bank account, you can't access credit. Also, the type of work you do will determine whether you can access credit or not. So, where you find women in um, more informal businesses,
Yes.
it will be harder to access credit for those businesses because, first of all, they're not very profitable, they are more risky, and so they would price that even into the cost of credit. And so it's kind of like a vicious cycle
Yes.
as to why women don't access or can't access credit to start their businesses. So, basic advice, first things first, women need to learn to formalize. When you're doing a business, you need to register your business. Register your business with the CAC.
CAC.
Have proper record keeping for your businesses, for your, inputs, your purchases, your sales, your all of that. Have a bank account. If you can't hire an accountant because it's too expensive, there are different services that you can find or pro bono work that can help, organize your finances, right? And then do the research. I often don't even advocate for bank financing for startup businesses because even the rates are prohibitive.
Yes.
So for me, I would always say, explore your peers, explore friends and family, explore what you call angel investors, people who are willing to give you credit, right, to start your business, to fund your business at zero to no interest, at little to zero interest, right? And using that would take off the pressure from you to service loans
Yes.
that your business probably is even too young to support. So I never really advocate for bank financing. Bank financing is often more for mature businesses or businesses that are ready to scale.
Okay.
Right. If you've gotten to the level of scale, you have established, clientele, you have viable products, you're selling, yes, you can access bank financing.
Okay.
But if you're just starting, it's a
Might not be a good
no-no.
idea.
It's a no-no for me. There are development finance loans that are available for women at, single digit interest rate. Those you can access, but for me, bank financing is never the first option. However, like I said, if you're a mature business, you have a viable product, you have your clientele, you've been running for a couple of years, you can absolutely get credit. You just need to do the research, find out what bank is has something for women, and don't jump at any offer that you see. You need to know how interest rates
That's the
affect,
interest rates.
yes,
Interest
affect
rates.
your profitability.
True.
If you're getting if you're getting a facility at 25%, you need to know how that is going to impact your profit and whether it's sustainable for your business. So there's a lot that goes into that analysis, and I'll always advise, talk to a professional. Talk to a professional.
That's very important because I think personally, just when I think of bank, I think of interest rates, which is like both like 25, 27%, right? And all that. And I think also when I said even starting up, apart from the finances structure, because a lot of times what they ask for in the bank that if you don't have the right structure or system, we always find out that you can't even give them all these things they're requesting for.
Absolutely. And another thing even is having collateral. That is
Yes.
something that has...
That's a limitation,
It's
though.
a limitation, and it's a
Yes.
global limitation. One of the reasons why women are not financially empowered is because they don't even have access to the assets that can support access to credit.
See?
So if you don't have tangible assets to access credit, you're not even going to get the credit, even when you have a viable business. Because most banks will want some level of collateral, some level of security to also cover their own exposure. So if you
Yes.
don't have that, That's even for a mature business. So another advocacy is for women to build assets, buy assets, no matter how small. Whether you're a low income earner, whether
Yes.
you're a small and medium scale enterprise, or you're a large business, invest in assets, because assets help gain access to
Credit.
credit. Yeah, assets like land, gold,
Yeah.
stock, depending on what your business is. Equipment, machinery. Yes, farmland.
Okay. Because I mean, acquiring land and all these assets, they're already you need credit to do that one.
Well, not
Because when you
necessarily.
talk about land in an urban place, for example, in an urban place in Abuja, the lands are exorbitantly high.
So
If you
obviously,
had that money, you might as well
so
put it in
obviously,
your
for
business.
you to be talking about land in Abuja, you obviously have to be performing at a
True.
certain level.
Level, yes.
I mean, the whole gamut or spectrum of business, or the whole value chain, you would find women across the entire value chain. You need to find where you are and then operate where you are. If you're at the
True.
lower end of the market, you would struggle to access credit. For those types of women, you need to look out for microcredits. And there are
Okay.
organizations that provide microcredits,
Microcredits.
small loans, 10,000, 20,000 are, for their businesses, right? When you begin to become like a small and medium scale enterprise where you're obviously you've moved up the ladder,
Yes,
then
yes.
you can begin to explore purchasing land, not even in the city, but in the
Outskirts.
outskirts, and even where you can't use those lands for collateral, you can use them for agriculture. You can use them for so many things.
Okay.
And then as you grow, you become a large scale enterprise. Then you can begin to look at, land in commercial areas in Lagos, Port Harcourt,
Yes.
Abuja, and all of that. So you just need to operate where you are, pretty much.
Okay, that's interesting. We're gonna take a break for now and then continue the
All
conversation.
right, thank
All
you.
right. So, thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey into wealth creation and financial empowerment with our special guest, Doyin Anyaehie. Now, we've covered a lot of ground today, but we're coming back again to continue this conversation in the next episode. We are not done yet. This is just the beginning. So, if you tune in next week, we'll continue to dive into these crucial topics, exploring even more ways women can seize financial opportunities and achieve their dreams. Until then, remember, at HERcast, we're dedicated to giving women a voice, empowering them with knowledge, and building a support network that encourages boldness in following their dreams. Stay bold and stay empowered, and we'll see you next week for part 2.